Hey everybody, I want to show you some we're gonna try some real-time troubleshooting. So sometimes you're in the middle of working on more than one project at the same time. Been in the middle of Aladdin's Castle, Captain Fantastic. I figured because they're both 76 Bally's, we'll start doing them at the same time. Also rebuilding a 1949, it's an ABT skill gun. But I had some people over the other day and they wanted to play the games. And I had Old Chicago on, and kid went to start the game and it wouldn't do anything. So we're just going to take a look at this as a methodical approach. I've taken the glass off, I've slid it out from the wall, and I've taken the back off. And I figure that's a good place to start. I'm going to do this right along with you. There may be a couple stops, and if I'm getting too frustrated, maybe I just won't record this. But I figured we'd take an approach as to what I would do, or where to start when something isn't doing what it's supposed to do. So I still have it plugged in. Let's turn it on. Okay, so I still have all my lights. If anybody knows this light, normally it's a solid, just a light bulb, but I put a blinker on Bally's and some Williams. This means that there's credits on the game. So technically, right now, we have 3 credits. And I have it set, you can take quarters on this one because I have the coin max. And I have it set for free play. So either way, we're going to push the start button. I've got nothing. Okay. Obviously this stuff should be dead. Okay. To me, that's a sign right there. If I push one of these traps, even if the game hasn't started, if a ball is in there, let's try. Okay. If a ball was in there, it would kick it out so that it drops down below the apron here, and it's ready for play. The ball is in there. Remember, on these EMs, there's nothing. It will start a game even if there is no ball in there. Not like the new ones where it'll say missing balls or something along those lines. So let's check another approach here. Assuming that maybe the credit wheel isn't working. Let's hit the coin switch. We got nothing. Okay. Let me pick up this play field. I'll set the camera down just for a second so I don't drop my camera in the process, or the play field. Okay, just pick the play field up. The ball is still rolling there. Okay, so now we're in the game. If you're watching this, there's a good chance that you've opened one of these old EM games up. Otherwise, welcome to the madhouse. Yes, there's over a half-mile wiring, literally, in here. And this is a Bally, Old Chicago. It is a 4-player game. It has a bonus countdown, has a set of drop targets, has an over-the-top buzzer. You need to check out these Bally's at the over the top. That's pretty cool. But that's for another time. Right now I'm just trying to do some diagnostics. Let's start. I don't have any extra lighting over here, and I don't feel like grabbing one. So then just start pushing relays. We're getting nothing. Okay. If I was to give the motor a spin, it should advance forward and at least get itself back to home position. So anytime you're rotating a motor, a score motor, see how these are all switch stacks? Go out of the switch stacks. Don't try and jerk back into them. Okay, so this one goes forward. I got nothing. Okay, so something is dead here. I have power to the play field. For the lights anyway, I don't have it. That's for my that center kickout hole I put my finger in, remember? Okay, now Bally's, see all this extra wire harness? That's that was a gift to you basically, so that the play field and everything would be easier to work on it. You could pull it out a little bit further. But I'm aware that this is all bundled up on the bottom. It could go over and touch things. It can rub. Bally's usually had an extra piece of rubber, like a giant rubber band, one of these playfield rubbers, hanging from the top of the back box that would act as a spring to hold up the slack, basically. So I do need to do that. I'm aware of that. Looking at the transformer, if you can see it back there, you're going to see an alligator clip. I didn't do that, but I did leave it. That was just somebody's way of going between normal and high tap. That still has to work because I have power to everything else. Okay, so I'll take a look in the back just for fun, but I don't think it's back here. Squeeze this back here. Okay, you see my one of many ways to set a game to free play. This is just an alligator clip holding the two contacts together. If I were to add a credit manually, we should hear that credit knocker pop. Got nothing. Okay, so everything on that end down below is dead. Has nothing to do with back here. Okay, let's go back around front. It would have been better if I pulled it out a little bit further. Yeah. Squeeze my fat ass through there. So, instincts. Let's start checking fuses. And I'm only going to look at this one, even though I have power to the playfield. I don't have it to certain things. But you notice there's a fuse here. And I know the camera doesn't really show that filament. But on these games, this is going to a rectifier. It tells me this is just a fuse for flippers. I'm not going to have flippers anyway if the game will not start. Okay. So what else do we have? Sneak up through here. 3 of them. Oh. Look at that. The tag says 50 volt 10 amp, 6 volts 15 amp, and 6 volt 15 amp. Okay, so the bottom two are supposed to be the same. Now, remember, these games are old, and there's a great chance you're not the first one to have it. So I know a ton of people that just put whatever fits. The label is telling you what it should be. Don't trust what it actually is. And for some of you that may have noticed, I also have some wiring sticking up here that goes to nowhere. That's not the cause. There's some back there you'll see hanging. That's also not the cause. That was just for different coin rack options. Yeah, third coin chute and stuff like that, which this does not have. Anyway, I think I see a suspect only because I can see a slight burn mark. Or maybe it's not a burn mark. I don't know. I haven't messed with it yet. But what I am going to do is use a meter. I got this old Fluke 87. I've had this since 1996, and I bought it used. This is still one of the best meters I've ever owned. Okay. Let's turn it to, I'm going to turn it to ohms. OL. Out of limits, open loop. Open late, I don't know, whatever you want to say. It means that it's not getting any continuity between two ends, which also means the two ends of my leads are not touching. So if I touch these together, 0.3 ohms, that's nothing. Okay. Let's shut the game off. Only because I see that there. I'm going to try and do this with one hand and the other one on the camera. But just for fun, I'm going to touch the bottom fuse. This isn't, you shouldn't really do it like this in the game. Okay, I'm reading 2.4 ohms. It's jumping around because my hand is moving here. Anyway, we'll go to the next one. 0.3 ohms. Remember, these are supposed to be the same. And do the top. Come on. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of everything. So that's not really working for me. Okay, I'm going to take another step here. And we're going to take the fuses out. Okay. Also note, Bally did not make great fuse holders. These little wings got weak, got loose, and a lot of times they won't make good contact. So, checking a fuse, that label says 6 volt 10 amp, and assuming this whole board, it's a Bally style, but we're assuming that that board even goes to this game. I'm going to say it's a safe assumption that it is, and the game worked fine before. So now it doesn't. So it clearly wouldn't be that wiring unless I had somebody come in the middle of the night. My dogs came down here and decided to clip wires. I know they get kind of shady sometimes, but that's unlikely. That fuse looks good. It's a 15 amps, so it's got a nice fat element in there. So we're going to test this. I am not setting it on the metal rail. Think about why that would be. I'll wait. Okay, I waited long enough. It's because no matter what you touch, it's going to say it's good. So looking at a fuse isn't good enough. Like if I touch this metal rail and I got metal ends, guess what happens? I'm going to get a reading. Take it somewhere else, or trying to do this one hand and hold a camera. I'm going to hold it on the end. It's reading something, or I'm getting a reading, even though because it's moving around. It's good. The fuse is good. There's continuity inside. And let's see. If you don't know how to read one of these fuses, I don't know if the camera will pick it up. Shit, I don't know if my eyes can pick it up. Alright, it's not one to catch focus. Anyway, there are some numbers stamped on the tops. You have to have some good eyes sometimes and good lighting. Okay. It's at 15 amps, so it is the correct fuse. Do that. Go to the next one. Same deal. Yep. And Navi's decided to come join us. Hi, Mama. You heard me recording, huh? You want to come make noise? Cool. Okay. So we're going to do the same test on this one. Alright. Don't touch the rail. I'm going to guess that it's good, because it looks good, but verifying, okay, 0.5 ohms, good. Okay, and it is a 15 amp. Okay, this is supposed to be a 10 amp. If you look close, it looks burned. Most likely is. But just to verify, okay, I am touching the two ends. Okay. Open legs. But that would be a good thing. Anyway, the fuse is bad. Okay. It's garbage, it's poo-poo, and it is the correct amperage. So, let me grab another 10 amp fuse. Okay, I've got a good fuse. It's a 10 amp fuse. Notice the difference here between the good on the left and the blown on the right. Keep in mind though, we took it out to verify it. Notice we had to take it out because we were still getting a reading from the while it was in the holder. That's because we're getting a feedback of resistance through the entire circuit, whatever that circuit is. So it's best to test these alone. I want to explain what you really want to focus on is the amperage. Okay, the voltage isn't that big a deal, but if you're going to replace a fuse, you can, if you're in a pinch, if you don't have the correct fuse, if you have one a size below it, like let's say I don't have a 10 amp, but I've got, for some reason, an 8 amp. That's okay. I mean, you know, it's gonna, it may blow if there's a problem. Hell, I mean, this one may blow too when we put it in. Trying to do this in real time here, instead of saying, okay, there it is, good, we found it. Just the stuff that I have to go through on each one of these. But if I had an 8 amp, that would work. What I don't want to do is go, I don't have a 10 amp, I'm going to put a 20 amp in there, or a 15. No, because if that's a problem, then you're allowing whatever is causing it to blow. Remember that the fuse popped for a reason. We still haven't found that reason. Side note, sometimes things just get overwhelmed and, you know, just for a moment, and it happens to be a fluke incident and pops the fuse. We may put this in and get lucky. I have a feeling it's still going to pop. So we may get to see one of these blow in action. My point being is, this is made to pop and throw away. Don't go sticking a bolt in there, or a gum wrapper, or a tool, or a 22 cal bullet. Ask me how I know. I've seen it. Stupid, stupid, stupid. This is made to protect the circuit of that machine. And it's especially vital if you have a solid state or electronic machine. This stuff is a little bit more robust and can take it, but if you have a solid state machine, you may blow whole MPUs and everything, and that's big bucks. This is about 15 cents. So, with that said, I got the correct amp fuse. I'm going to put it in here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, hopefully nothing, we'll see, because I'm trying to recreate the scenario. Remember, you may not be around to see what that scenario is. So you have to play detective. So let's turn this on. Oh, did you hear that? The motor moved. Remember, we were playing with it and probably went back to home position. Okay, I'm going to reach around and try and start a game here. We're going to see what happens. Okay, let's see. Oh shit. Well, that's why we have a fuse.
Yeah,
And over there somewhere I saw a puff of smoke. That's why this is important. Okay, we're gonna shut the game off. So we know as part of the whatever is needed to start the game up, we know it's part of that. Well, that's another crap fuse. Yeah, there's two. So unless you're gonna get boxes of fuses to keep diagnosing, I suggest getting some of these circuit breakers. Harbor Freight case that is slightly modified. Okay. 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20. General rule of thumb when I'm using these, I know it's a 10 amp rated fuse, but circuit breakers tend to take a little bit more amperage to pop. So I'm going to go the next size smaller. Remember, we don't want to go up. We don't want to take it to a 12. Well, let's see. Hell, if it'll pop 10, let's see if it'll pop 15. Don't do that. It's stupid. Don't be stupid. Okay, 3, 5, 7, 10. So let's go with the 7 amp. I forgot where I got these. You can get them online. They come pre-made. It's essentially a blown fuse attached to a circuit breaker. This is a push button. Do not replace these in your game. This is for testing purposes only. This isn't to say, hey, look, if something goes wrong on my game, all I gotta do is keep pushing this button, because that defeats the purpose. Let's not defeat purposes. So we checked, it's rated for 7 amps. And all it is a blown fuse soldered to a circuit breaker. So temporarily, we're going to stick this into place of that. This has come in handy at work too. These circuit breakers for checking building automation stuff. But anyway, it's just a push button. This push button is pushed in right now. Just for fun, we got 32,740 games. Okay, we're going to try this again. We'll turn it on. Now I'm going to point you in the direction that I saw a cloud of smoke. A little puff. Let's see what happens. Oh. Oh. Hear that buzz? I heard it buzz for a second. And look, it left us a present. Our button's pushed out. Let's push that in. Oh. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, notice that was a 7 amp. It's not resetting right away. Shit, maybe it's strong enough that... Maybe it's drawing enough in there that, yeah, okay. Did you hear that? It's trying to reset. Let's see, I pushed it. Let's see what it does. So it kicks back in when it cools down internally. Maybe. Maybe. Okay. Something's tripping that. from this last switch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12th cam. We have one switch on there. And it's looking pretty pretty dark. Well, that's probably from the arcing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the schematic or drawing, whatever you want to call it. And let's see what's on that circuit. It doesn't mean that's it, but there's a pretty heavy arc coming from that. Which means whatever is shorting that, it could be that wire harness there, it could be rubbed on something. Let's find out. So let's take a look at the schematic. Okay, here we are in my messy office, and if you want to go back and look at, I did make a video on the ipdb.org. That is the Internet Pinball database. It has basically any machine you can think of. If you want to check out that video on how to use this, then it can be a huge resource for you. So, Old Chicago, it has some pictures. I actually have some pictures in here that are of my actual games. But sometimes if you have a game and you contact the guys at the that are running the database, they may ask you for some pictures of certain things on your game, especially if it's rare. But anyway, most of these, well, I'd say a huge portion of these, not Gottlieb, you won't find them on here because that's still under license. If you go down towards the bottom just for pictures, a lot of them will say schematics. So let's go to schematic. Okay. Okay, normally the actual schematic is about 8 feet long. So let's zoom in. Okay, try and do this and hold the camera. Okay, so coming off the transformer, we're starting from the plug in. There's your transformer. All the different branches. Remember, the different windings is for different voltages. So we're on the 50 volt side. Remember that fuse holder said 50 volt, 10 amp, so we're going the right way. This says 6. I don't know if you can see that or not. So let's go up. Now Bally used number codes for wires instead of just putting what they should have, even though they did it in certain spots. This would say W/blue, white wire with a blue tracer. This you got to figure out. The first number is one color, the second number is another color, and they use that wire. It's either 2 times or 2 other times in this if there's a dash on these. The colors are usually along the sides or the edge of the page of what the color code is, but right now our focus is, there's our 10 amp fuse. Remember the other 2 that were up there were 6 volt, 15 amp, and there's that other one. So we're going the right way. 10 amp and 80. I know just from experience, 80 means a black wire and no tracer. Okay, so we're gonna go to the right. Figure out how to do this, and I can do this way. I'm used to scrolling the wheel, but I'm trying to hold the camera. Let me zoom out a little bit. On any of these, if you're familiar with computers, you can do control. I forget. I'm having a brain fart right now. Okay, so let's go over. We're gonna zoom out just a little bit. Okay, this 30, of course, why wouldn't it be the main circuit? Or, I'm trying to find my cursor. Okay, this main vein through here is your main circuit. That's the circuit we're following. What's it tied to? Frickin' everything. So what I want you to focus on is, remember, we looked just like a fireman looks for smoke. We saw where it came from. So somewhere along this line, whatever's tied to this, if you see these are switch contacts, and the circle means it's a cam on the score motor. So we have 10A. So I'm just using this for an example. This may be the problem, but I doubt it. This means cam number 10, that means the 10th one away from the score motor. 10A, that means it's the bottom switch. If there's a whole stack of switches, that's the bottom switch. 8D, 8th cam, the ABCD is the 4th switch up. And then you know, if you have trouble determining, you look at the wire colors that are closest to it. If the wires are touching like this, it's a splice. Some manufacturers use a dot. Like they kind of did a little bit of everything with this. It gets really confusing. Like this, that's a splice also. That's a dot. Where the hell was it looking? That's still splice, but there's no dot. If you see this arch, that means this wire here does not connect to it. It goes around that wire in the drawing, not physically necessarily, but it means that this wire is not connected to this, and it means this wire is also not connected to this, but it is tied in here. That's tied in here. This would go up. This is showing the third coin chute. We're not worried about that. But I want you to know what we're going to look for is, see how this says 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We're going to look for 12. So, how would we do that? This is where I don't know a better way just yet. But you have to kind of play Where's Waldo? Where's Switchy? Whatever. Okay, so there's another one, the 10th wheel, and that's a make or break switch. It's not two switch. Well, technically it's two switches, but it's one switch piece. You know, one end of it closes while the other one opens. Okay. So let's go over. There's some more there. We're looking for the 12th cam. How are we gonna find it? Not that far. Let's go back. Sorry for making you dizzy. Sometimes you gotta look up higher. See, because this is all still on that See, I started off with 80 and then I went back and I got confused here. So here's the 80, so we're still on the same wire. This down here was 30, but same concept. So if you come back over here, remember that's that whole circuit. There's the 10 amp, wire 80. Let's move all the way down. We're still looking for there's 7. Let's move down a little further. Oh, what do we have? There we go. 12A, so it's the closest switch to the bottom, which this helps us because we don't have to look any further. We can physically see, we saw that there's only physically one switch on that cam. So there are no others. If there were other switches on that stack, we'd have to keep searching the schematic. But this is the only switch on that. Remember, we saw a big spark from there. Could just mean dirty contacts. But, okay, what's connected to that? Remember, here's a splice. Targets down. Okay, that's drop targets, because normally open. Once it goes down, out hole relay and game over relay. Okay, so once any of those closes, that brings power to red and black. Drop target reset solenoid. Ooh, okay. Drop target reset solenoid. Okay, M21. Does it say 650? Yeah, 650 is the coil number. So solenoid, it's not just a relay. It has the coordinate, but drop target reset solenoid. That's a big boy. And that's the only thing on that circuit. Okay, because it's only getting its power. Targets down. We didn't knock any targets down, so we didn't get power through that. I mean, obviously, unless one of these relay has bent contacts. Out hole relay. Okay, out hole meaning the ball fell down in the bottom, that below the apron. That is the out hole. So it would be getting power through that. Or the game over relay. Okay, so it got power through that because that relay is closed because we dropped the ball. Well, the game over relay would be activated because it was still in game over until we tried to reset it. But anyway, drop target reset solenoid. Let's take a look. Okay, we got our Sherlock Holmes hats on. This is the switch that we're talking about, all that arcing. Okay. This is your drop target bank. Let me go around, see if I can get a better angle. Okay, there's your drop targets. So what happens, this drop target, this is a big boy. This is, I think the biggest, yeah, this is the biggest coil, biggest solenoid on this machine. So that's a big boy. That needs a lot of power because this is your reset bar. It picks up to reset the coils and bring them up. So push that would turn on And notice when we try to reset that's not up yet. So there's a clue right there too. Okay, watch, we'll push that up. Boom, target's reset. Okay, there's nothing bound. We're just checking this because it's really all that's pointing to. Nothing seems loose. It doesn't stink. It doesn't look burned up. But what we can do with our trusty meter, and if you get a meter, which if you're gonna dig into this at all, I highly suggest, it doesn't have to be a fluke. It doesn't have to be a big fancy meter. You can get a $15, $20 meter anywhere. Okay. And this one has auto range for all your things. This is volts AC, volts DC, millivolts. It's your ohms resistor. This is for diode check, milliamps, microamps. You don't need to worry about that for an EM game. Biggest thing you want to worry about on an EM game is ohms or resistance. People call it different things. Continuity check. It even has a little beeper. If you can't look at it right away and you just want to know if it's connected. You can barely hear it on mine, but it does beep. Anyway, we're just going to set it right now to your ohms, resistance, continuity, whatever. I'm going to try and do this again one-handed. What are we looking for? We know these don't have a whole lot of resistance because it's got a lot of power. If it was a holding, like it had to hold up for something, we want a lot of resistance. So that way it can hold without overheating. So these should probably have, I'm going to say 2 or 3 ohms. You know, you can calculate all that, but I'm not doing that right now. That's a whole other lesson. What do we have? We have continuity. Like I said, we want 2 to 3 ohms. So there is continuity, but check it out. Oh, come on. 0.2 ohms. 0.2. That's almost nothing. That's not 2 ohms, that's 0.2. That coil is shorted. I don't see anything burned, so you can't tell by looking at it. You can't smell, but what happens is these, you see that the reddish shiny wire, that's not the actual wire. It's got a clear coating on it, just like a regular wire jacket, but it's super thin. And somewhere along the line, it got hot or scraped or whatever, and it's shorting internally. So that needs a new coil. So let's try. We're going to reset the breaker and start using your senses. So we saw the smoke, so there's our C. We saw the arc. Let's see, let's try it. Do you see that little movement? Didn't pop the thing yet. I'm going to try it again. Oh, did you hear that? That hum? That's drawing a lot of power. And it did tripped our breaker. So every time I'm pushing that button, I would be popping a fuse. Invest of, I think I paid $20, $25 for the whole set of them. And that's a 7 amp, but I guarantee it's drawing more than that if it just pops a 10 amp fuse right away. So I am saying it's a bad coil. I don't have a lot of slack on this wire. I tell you what, I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to desolder that, and we're going to try this. Alright, hang on. Okay, I desoldered the one side of that coil, took the wire off. Remember, we followed the black wire. I didn't take that one off because it's more work with the two wires. I'm going to have to desolder it anyway when I get a new coil. But the way those drawings or schematics are laid out, it's AC power, so which way does the electricity flow? Well, it goes both ways, but either way, it doesn't matter what side on this you disconnect because it's an AC coil. Okay, that's again a lesson for another time, but we're going to see the moment of truth. So what we should have now, I'm going to drop some of these drop targets. We'll get a startup sequence. Now let's see, maybe turn it on. Come on. Okay, it's on. We're going to hit the start button. Let's see. Okay, we started a game. Let's prove that. Yep, everything works except we did not reset our drop targets. All it does is reset them because we pushed it back past the switch. So the drop targets still work. I'm getting replays. So now what are we up to? 9. Because the second sequence of targets, once it drops them down, you hit them a second time and you get a replay. Well, if there's nothing here to reset it, the switches on the drop targets are still touching, so it's thinking you're just knocking them down insanely fast. So that works. And we'll be putting a new coil in here. So that was troubleshooting in real time. You know, take away some time for teaching, take away time for learning experience, or, you know, or add time to that. That's what takes longer. And depending on your skills, it's going to be slower or faster, and just keep working with it, and that will come. So let's decide a different scenario. Remember, on our meter we saw 0.2 ohms. That's not enough resistance. It's resistance, but it's not enough. So that means it's shorted. If we touch the two wires and we saw OL, or open loop, that means that this coil is open, that the wire internally is not connected. So what would happen then? It's essentially a cut wire. It's essentially what we just did now. So you saw the symptoms. If this coil would not reset, and that's also where I would start if you're saying, hey, my game starts but my drop targets don't come up. Well, look at this coil first. So you got two different scenarios, shorted versus open. Shorted, a short circuit, meaning the circuit isn't completing, it's coming back way too fast, there's no load. Remember, we also talked about something causes the fuse to blow. Don't just change the fuse. 99% of the time there's something that caused that. I mean, if everything was happening at the same time, you got everything's running, some little kid comes up and they're smacking the crap out of the side of your game, just bang, 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 you know. You got your flipper doing that. With both of them especially, chances are, you know, it could blow a fuse from that. But this is a physical short. My first instinct, because there's nothing getting to any of the circuits, even if I tried to reset push the relays and stuff, is that because I didn't hang up my wire in the back, that maybe it rubbed through on something. But we proved that not to be the case. So I will put a new coil in there, which is just a matter of taking off this clip. These two screws will desolder that, pop the new one on, and we should be good to go. And that's that. So everybody, I hope this helps. You know, if you have a question just in troubleshooting and ways to look, just like a fireman, look for smoke. You know, you may have a little bit different story if you have a solid state game. But I will also get another fuse put in there. We learned that it's probably a good idea to invest in circuit breakers. The difference between a shorted circuit and an open circuit. And lastly, this does not mean it's only this game, this old Chicago. This particular setup, this could be any Bally with that same problem, or any game in general. This is just a general overview on troubleshooting, where to start, what it's doing. Come over here. You know, we've got Captain Fantastic. So if you got a Captain Fantastic, same deal. I would think, let's see, let's look at these motors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, there was 12 on the other one. So that setup on the motor may not be the same, but both being 76 Bally's, let's see, and 21650. And I did measure this one a while ago and it had 2.5 ohms. I don't know if this works. I've never really seen the game work yet. I'm still going through it. But 2.5 isn't open, but it is more than 0.2. But this is basically the same assembly. So it can be any EM game. They all kind of work essentially the same. So again, I hope that helped, and if you like this type of stuff, please do me a favor, just as everyone else has, click the subscribe button. A like here and there helps. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down at the bottom. I do try and get to all of them once I see them. And hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Alright. I couldn't leave you hanging. I decided to just use the same coil from Captain Fantastic. Never tested the game before, but I did test the resistance on the coil. This is the one that you're looking at from Captain Fantastic. Same thing, but with a green wrapper. And 21650. And 21650, so same thing. What does that mean? 21 gauge wire, wrapped 650 turns. So let's try it out. I took the circuit breaker out, and let's do a startup. That's what I'm talking about. We'll drop the 5 targets. We'll do it again, and that will also include a hit of the knocker because we should get a replay. There it is. So good. We got an actual resolution video for you. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like this type of stuff, feel free to subscribe. It really helps us out. And I'll continue trying to help you guys out wherever I can. So thanks again. Love you guys. Bye.